Sometimes, I can't sleep at night because I'm thinking about something, and usually what I'll do is go write it down.
There's a bunch of things about you that are underdeveloped, and a lot of those things are because there's things you've avoided looking at because you don't want to look at them, and there's parts of you you've avoided developing because it's hard for you to develop those parts. And so it's by virtual necessity that what you need is where you don't want to look, because that's where you've kept it. And that's why there's an idiosyncratic element of it for everyone. Your particular place of enlightenment and terror is not going to be the same as yours, except that they're both places of enlightenment and terror. So they're equivalent at one level of analysis and different at another. So anyways, back to fiction and what it does, it distills truth, and it produces characters that are composites, and the more they become composites, the more they approximate a mythological character, and so they become more and more universally true and more approximating religious deities. But the problem with that is they become more and more distant from individual experience.
While you're trying to become successful, you're going to come into some scary obstacles that you've never felt before. You're going to be stuck in situations where you don't know how to handle them because you're so out of your comfort zone and you're so scared and you don't know how to function. And the single-handed best way to get over that would be by going out and just getting uncomfortable and attacking your fears head on with the utmost confidence. Things that scare you are incredibly challenging to do, but once you do them and you look back and you discover how exciting that was for you, and you get to see how much you grew from that experience because it was something that you had to grow from. There's no way that you could go into that and not accomplish your fear and not grow. Every time you do something that makes you uncomfortable, you grow and you learn from that experience because it's something that you've never accomplished or never achieved because you don't know what it feels like, and that's what makes you scared. The fear of the unknown and not knowing what's going to happen if this happens or that happens. It's incredibly challenging in order to figure out how to get over fear. But the best way to do it is just attack it head on with the utmost confidence and truly believe in yourself, knowing that you are capable to do whatever it is that you want to do, and you can do anything no matter who tells you what. If people are telling you what you're trying to do is dumb or stupid, or you're not going to be able to do it, or you're not good enough, use them as motivation and excite your soul.
So what does it mean for this symbol to emerge from the feminine symbol, let's say, to emerge from chaos? Well, this is a picture of Venus, the goddess of love, right? And so I cut this picture out of a larger picture, and it's Venus manifesting herself in a transcendent space, in the sky, in the same way that Christ did in the previous representation. And she has rays coming off her, and there's all these men who are knights kneeling in front of the image. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that men use the image of female perfection to motivate themselves. And that's exactly right. That's precisely what they do. You see that in the Tom Sawyer story. So Tom Sawyer is about 12 years old, and he's still hanging around with his friends like Huck Finn. And this girl moves across the street, Becky, and she comes out, and he's struck by her for the first time in his life. Something's changed. And the first thing he does is hop up on a picket fence and show off and balance in front of her. And he's saying, well, look at me, look at me. He's like the male bowerbird building something beautiful so the female will approve of it. And it's motivation, and that's something that I think modern women don't really understand about men. Make a damn schedule and stick to it. Okay, so what's the rule with the schedule? It's not a bloody prison. That's the first thing that people do wrong. They say, well, I don't like to follow a schedule. It's like, well, what kind of schedule are you setting up? Well, I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, and then I just go play video games, because who wants to do all these things that I have to do? It's like, wrong. Set the damn schedule up so that you have the day you want. That's the trick. It's like, okay, I've got tomorrow. If I was going to set it up so it was the best possible day I could have, practically speaking, what would it look like? Well, then you schedule that. And obviously there's a bit of responsibility that's going to go along with that, because if you have any sense, one of the things that you're going to insist upon is that at the end of the day, you're not in worse shape than you were than at the beginning of the day, right? Because that's a stupid day. If you have a bunch of those in a row, you just dig yourself a hole and then you bury yourself in it. It's like, sorry, that's just not a good strategy. It's a bad strategy. So maybe 20% of your day has to be responsibility and obligation, or maybe it's more than that, depending on how far behind you are. I don't know if you can be less afraid of death exactly, but I think that here's a hypothesis, and this is a Socratic hypothesis. I write about this in my book too, by the way. Maybe if you live your life thoroughly thoroughly, right? You take use of the advantages, make use of the advantages that are put in front of you, make use of your talents, say yes to things, tell the truth, like stand up and get at it, assuming that you can do that, you know, because some people are very ill and hurt, but assuming you can do that, I think the only way to combat fear of death is to live fully. And I think that might actually work. I kind of wonder, I've talked about this with my father too, who's getting pretty old. You know, I've asked him if, for example, if he could be transformed back into an 18-year-old, knowing what he knows now, would he do it? And he was ambivalent about that. You know, he didn't say no, but he didn't say yes. And we talked about this idea that if you lived your life fully, you know, maybe that would be good enough. Because, you know, I loved having kids, but I don't feel that I would have kids again, you know, because in some sense I've already done that.
Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let us know what you thought down in the comments section below.